chased validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
Uh-oh, I forgot to push the button. Look, I'm ready to rock and roll on TikTok side. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Sander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. We had us a fantastic show yesterday, so I'm actually pretty proud that you guys came in and did what y'all had to do. Today being Tuesday, time is flying. Let me put these stocks up here for y'all. I want y'all to see what we got going on today. So as we move forward today, we're going to be talking about how 12-month contracts can attract top-tier talent. So I want you guys to pay attention to that. So that's the topic of today. So when I ask you guys to stay on topic, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about is either from the perspective of the contractor, where you are creating a contract and hiring the clients, the talent, or if you are the talent and you're looking to get into a 12-month contract with a subcontractor where you're trying to find you a really good job. That's going to be the two ways that we're going to be discussing today. So I want you to make sure that you guys know where we're headed throughout the rest of the day. Now, first and foremost, we go live 7 nights a week, and we do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. So we ask you guys to like and subscribe. We ask you guys to match the like buttons and the reaction buttons while you're here. And we ask you guys to hit the notification button so that you're notified when we get started. Also, we ask you guys to tiptoe over to the YouTube side of things and check out the membership so that you can see what's going on in the membership, because I mean, all of the information that we release for y'all on a day-to-day basis aids you guys in your abilities to be successful. So being live 7 nights a week, we have different topics every night of the week. On Sundays, we have questions and comments from the fans. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays about business and politics. Where on Monday, we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. We had a lot of information yesterday when we were talking to you guys about how the tax cuts did not occur for Q3. And we actually talked to you guys yesterday about how they are negotiating a clean bill that will allow for federal agents to continue to get paid through the shutdown phase in September, in starting September 30th, to extend funding until December so that everybody can do their election thing and not have to worry about the government shutting down during elections. But that raises a whole lot of questions. But we talked about how that impacts you guys. So if you're government agents, if you're TSA workers, whatever the case may be, just note that we're following that information. And since they're doing it here in August, they've got like 6 weeks to kind of get it approved. And if they can just get the payroll approved and bump that down the line, then all of the political disarray that they have not gotten sorted out will determine whether or not you guys be unemployed for Christmas. So we're going to be talking to you guys about that, but knowing that that can be a thing, it's time for you guys to get prepared for it. So we've given you guys plenty of times since October of last year, many ways that y'all can circumvent that so that you can find yourselves furlough proof, but it just really requires you guys to pay attention to what we got going on a daily basis and stick with it so that you guys can find yourselves more successful down the line. Now, Tuesdays, we talk about different ways for you to make and save and invest money. And since that's what we do on Tuesday, we give you guys the information to find ways to budget. We find ways for you guys to start up different businesses and get other such discussions in there so that you guys can kind of build alternative sources of wealth. And we do that because everybody that has a job has been on that job for quite a long time. At least most of y'all have, at least. And with that being said, when it comes down to transitioning into something else, it makes no sense for anyone to think I'm going to instant change from where I'm at to somewhere else and expect that pay cut to not impact the household. That would be unrealistic thinking. So I give you guys the insight of knowing that, you know, there are other ways where you guys can start up side jobs, side hustles, if you guys have certain passions that are automatable or monetatable, that you have the capabilities of starting to do that for pay on your side of things, like adjacent to your primary job, and then build that up to a level where it starts making money for you, where you are able to have a second income that supports your standard of living. Michael says that he's jobless. I know you're jobless, Michael, because you're 71 years old. You're retired already. So of course you're jobless. He says Santa's not coming this year. Yes, I understand that. I don't even know what you're doing, Class Master, because you came in and you started being negative out the gate, and you're lucky that I only put you in a timeout. But when you came in, you were being disrespectful, and you should have gotten banned, but I pushed the wrong button. So now that you're leaving, have a good night. We don't support trolls. We support people who are coming here to learn how to make, save, and invest money, because that's what we're going to be doing. We got all kinds of strategies. Today, we're going to be talking about 12-month contracts and how to do, if you're trying to create your own business, or if you're looking for a really good job, like what kind of contracts are more effective for this particular type of thing. And this is the things. I don't know who this person is. Hello. And we're not answering questions about my personal life. You're here on This and That, where you're going to be learning about different ways to improve yourself. Ah, the troll again. Ah, I see. Now, that brings us back to Wednesdays, because Wednesdays we talk to you guys about different ways to travel to other countries and invest in other countries and potentially live in other countries, which kind of gives you guys a heads up on what's out there. Because I know that a lot of ladies say, well, like they like to travel. You would like to travel, as in, I wish I could travel, but you don't travel on a regular basis. And going with your homegirls to ladies' night at the local bar is not traveling. You guys got to understand that, going to a different country is not free. It is not cheap. It is not easy. And I'm not saying that like y'all don't know that. I'm saying that the effort that anybody would put into leaving from where they are to going somewhere else and paying for where they are while paying for somewhere else at the same time is a challenge. And for the average person to be able to pull that off, you have to prepare for it, because you first have to recognize how long you're going to be gone. What is the base cost to keep this house on standby or this apartment on standby until I get back? What bills are going to still be circulating while I'm gone and which ones are not? And then you have to determine how much money you're taking with you and how long you're going to be gone. What do you plan on doing, and just in case money, and then being able to make sure that you can get back, right? So with all of that stuff going on, that's a lot of effort. And depending on what you're doing and where you're going, it could be just as quick that you have it's just as quick that you've got a $10,000 or $20,000 vacation, because it's not just the vacation itself. And that's one of the things that people don't think about. When you plan a vacation, it is not just a vacation. It's the cost of your standard of living at your home that is included in your vacation time. So if you say, oh, well, I'm going to spend like $5,000 in another country. Okay, cool. But you're still going to spend like $5,000 or $10,000 here in America. So you're planning a $10,000 or $15,000 vacation, because you have to make sure that your house is covered from the time you leave till the time you get back. Your car is covered and everything to that effect. And then your travel is covered on top of that, because your house doesn't just go on autopilot and nobody has to pay any bills till you get back. You have to make sure that that stuff is already prepaid before you leave, so that when you get back, you're not struggling to try to pay bills. Because one of the worst things that people do that are financially challenged individuals with poor decision-making skills is you plan a vacation with your bill money. You go on vacation, then you come back, and now you got to go do double overtime so that you can pay your bills. Yeah, you had a good vacation, but you left a stressful environment, overpacked the adventure with all of these tasks and challenges so that you can say that you did so much stuff while you were gone, where vacations were supposed to be a time of rest, a time of literally doing nothing, wandering around and stumbling into an activity, not necessarily back to back, hour by hour itinerary. Then when you get back, since things were in disarray when you left, when you get back, things are in disarray when you get back. So as soon as you touch down, the mental stress that you have overloads you and overwhelms you to the magnitude where it just deletes the vacation experience, because you are no longer stress free. You are no longer together mentally, where you can start making decisive decisions going forward, because you started off making bad decisions. And that's why we're here, trying to help you guys make different decisions that improves your outcome, because that's really the way that you guys are going to be able to make yourselves more successful. Congratulations about your squirrels, Michael. That's not part of today's topic. I told you when you got here to stay on topic. We're not doing that today. Now, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we talked to you guys about self-improvement, personal development, socialization, negotiations, building your brand, raises, promotions, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, termination, and how to build your 20 or 30-year plan. So recognize and understand that we cover everything from your professional life and your professional decision-making skills all the way to your personal life and your personal decision-making skills, because the decisions that you make off the clock directly impact your money. And the money that you have to spend for those decisions is part of your standard of living. And then you actually end up in a position where you go to work enough to make the money to accomplish all of the things that um, to mark all of the things that you want to do. So if you decide that you want to, go clubbing every week, if you want to go smoke with the boys, if you want to go pick up chicks, you know, all of these things are things that you decide that you want to do that cost money, and these are going to be the things that ultimately steers you away from your long-term goals, and these are going to be the things that you have to prepare for financially, because a pack of smoking a couple times a day could lead to $10,000 to $15,000 a year worth of spending. Drinking on a regular basis could lead to another $10,000 to $15,000 a year worth of spending, which puts you at $20,000 to $30,000 a year worth of spending. Clubbing could be easily $1,000 a month, leading up to $12,000 a year worth of spending. So just your personal decisions to go hang out. Then you think about decisions that you make to please family and friends. Couples, when you're in a relationship and you upset your partner and you make up by buying them something, or you make up by taking them somewhere, or you broke something in the heat of the argument and then you have to replace it. All of these decisions cost you money, and that money comes out of your day-to-day operation. So if you find yourself financially successful, making more money, doing more work, but then you find yourself in a situation where your personalized decisions compromises that income, that's when you find yourself in a situation where the extra money you're making is still disappearing faster than it comes in, because your personal decisions are taking extra money out of your pocket. And moment passed, but $500 here, $100 there, traffic ticket here, cost of a decision there. These things compound and put you in a position where you have to pay extra money for things that you otherwise would not have had to pay. And that's why we want you guys to pay attention to that and change on that. That's not today's topic either. FX Trader says everybody should get married at 18 years old so that they don't waste energy on chasing chicks. No, you need to pay attention to how you're going to fix your finances so that you have a stable income coming in. And then you're going to pay attention to standing on your non-negotiable expectations for behavior, so that the person that you find, whenever you find them, is going to support your position so that you can be successful with that person. So instead of focusing on getting married for the sake of getting married, you're going to focus on these 12-year contracts that we're talking about today. And then you're going to focus on your capabilities to make the right decisions, to have the right people in your entourage, because you are the company that you keep. So if you keep low quality people with you, whether it's a bad girlfriend, whether it's bad best friends, whether it's bad family members, they're going to drag you down, plain and simple. Your goal in life might be to something better than what you are. And ultimately, the issue is going to be that if you have family members that are content with where they are, where they have plateaued, if you have a girlfriend that has plateaued, if she wasn't wife material when you met her, she's not going to be wife material when you marry her, and you are marrying a problem. So when we were talking about 12-month contracts, we were talking about 12-month contracts for employment, not relationships. So that's what I mean, investing and saving mostly. Well, I understand that emotionally investing into the right person does aid you in your ability to think clearer, because you have less stress and more peace, and you have the capabilities to make more decisive decisions. But it is more important for you to pay attention to the fact that the more quality level, high qualified woman that you will be looking for is going to come at a higher income level for you to have, plain and simple. Because broke women are not supportive in their relationships. Broke women believe that their presence is enough, and outside of their presence, sex is all that you get, under the falsehood that you might be able to be a parent when that's not the case. And with a lot of women wanting abortion, Plan B, contraceptives, what is that, O-ring on all this other stuff, they want to chase their careers because they're financially challenged. So they want to elevate themselves in society, which isn't a bad thing. It's just the problem is that if the societal expectations is that I have to pay for you and I have to be driven in a way for growth, then you have to be driven in a way of support so that I grow. Because even if you have a career and you chase that career comes second to me and my career, because I'm taking care of you. You're supposed to make sure that I succeed so that I can take my assets and invest in you. So if you want to be a lawyer and I'm a small business owner, you're supposed to be doing what you got to do to be that lawyer, but you're investing in me so that I can make more money so that I can invest in you. When you need extra down payments on stuff, I'm supposed to be bringing that up, but I'm only supposed to bring that up if I got that money. If I don't have that money, you can want all day long, but if our credit sucks and we don't have enough income, we can't finance nothing to get your business off the ground. Right now, if you were already a self-sustainable lawyer before you met me and you've got this career that you're supposed to be handling, that's one thing. You handle that career, but you get into a relationship that you can sustain while maintaining your career. If your career is that demanding that you don't have a personal life, your work-life balance is off, you're not wife material. Doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you prioritize your job over your family. And if you prioritize your job over a family, you are not wife material. Plain and simple. If you prioritize respecting your boss over respecting your husband and your boyfriend, then you're not wife material. So we need to pay attention to, today we're talking about work, not relationships. So we need to pay attention to getting the work done. He said, where's your high quality women? Where's my high quality woman? Again, not today's topic. Today's topic is about contracts, Michael. So you need to stay on point. And my high quality woman being here on the podcast where you can see her versus being here in the house doing what needs to be done and not disrupting my podcast has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that everybody else here who's trying to start from not being in the right place to getting in the right place has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not I'm in the right place. Because again, I've told you guys before, an addict can tell you why it's not a good idea to be an addict. An addict can tell you all the ways to avoid becoming an addict. A homeless person can tell you all the ways to avoid not being homeless. A divorcee can tell you all the ways to stay in the marriage. Right? An unemployed person can tell you all the ways to keep your job. And why do you think that is? Why do they not have to be successful in those activities to be able to have the mindset and the skill set to be able to teach you not to go down the road that they went down? Because the knowledge that they learned was do the exact opposite that sabotaged their position, right? If I fail at it, I know what not to do, which means I can teach you what to do because that's what I didn't do, but I should have. That's where teachers come from. That's where sage advice comes from. Some of the wisest people in the world have done some of the dumbest shit in their life. Okay. So it's a passive aggressive, dismissive behavior to try to challenge the delivery of the messenger because you don't like the fact that the message hits you closer to home than what you would prefer. Because at the end of the day, it's true to life that the message is clear. You have to focus on getting yourself together and then pay attention to somebody that is on that level and make sure that that person cooperates with your agenda so that you are not deviating from your agenda. Because as a man, you still have to perform. Whether she performs or not is irrelevant. As a man, you still have to perform. If you get a woman that does nothing but sit on the couch, eat bonbons, and watch Oprah, that's what you chose. But she is not going to be considered a bad girlfriend or a bad wife because that's what you chose. She's attractive. You sleep with her. She might cook and clean. That's all you got. That's what you chose. You're not growing with her. You're maintaining the same. But society will say that if you don't have your stuff together where you're not working and you're not providing for the family and she actually has to do stuff for you, you're a liability. You're worthless. You're lazy. You're garbage. You're a bum because men must perform unconditionally. And since men must perform unconditionally, I'm here giving you guys the knowledge and the insight to aid you guys in your capabilities of performing. And then when you start looking into relationships, you got to treat relationships like job interviews where you're literally looking for a partner that makes you better, not keep you contained. Okay. And just like women with the hypergamy theory are looking for a man that has more resources than her, men need to be looking for the type of woman that has the right mindset to want to aid him in improving. So if he's disorganized, she organizes him. If he works too much, she makes him take breaks. If he doesn't work enough, she sends him out to work. If he's not making the right decisions, she should not be with it. Plain and simple. Trader says, yeah, I forgot that we don't live off one income like the 50s and 60s. No, we don't. You have one person with two incomes. Hello, I don't know what your name is. We have one income with, or one person with two incomes, or two people with one income, and that is about 60% of America right now. 60 to 68% of America right now. And me and Michael had that debate too, because Michael swore up and down that the majority of America has one income. No, the data comes from each individual employer reporting how many employees they have. The census does not evaluate name by name how many names show up twice. There is a smaller quantity of data that does verify from person to person review the number of individuals that they interviewed admitted that they were two jobs or admitted that they had more than one income in their household. But the data that shows how many people have a job doesn't show how many people have two jobs, because your employer doesn't pay attention to your second employer. Your employer determines whether or not you work full time. That's not how this works. So this podcast works off of you positively involving yourself in the discussion. And then if you positively involve yourself in the discussion and I like what you have to say, then I might bring you onto the show. There's a whole lot more trolls on TikTok than what they are on YouTube. And if you're not positively involved on a show, you can't just hit me with the, let me in, and I just bring you in. We've already tried that quite a few times this week, and you guys have failed. He says, book for tonight, Good Profits by Charlie G. Koch. I'm going to leave that up there for a while. Fantastic book, Michael. You're from, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Congratulations. Special shout out to that guy's country. I don't know what country that's in. He says, wait, you guys live off two incomes? Yikes, bruh. If my parents have to work, I failed as a man. That's one way to look at it. But how old are you, son? Because clearly you seem to be a very young buck with that statement that you just made. I'm going to be honest with you. Whether it applies to your specific life or not, the average child is under their parents' income some way, shape, or form until they're at least about 26 years old, right? You're under your parents' insurance. You're on your parents' plan for the phone. You're on your parents' plan for the car insurance. When you have bad blood with your family and you move out on bad terms, you typically sever yourself from your family's resources. But when you and your family are on good terms, 16, 17, 18 years old, your parents are helping you get your first car. Your parents are helping you get your first apartment. Your parents are helping you get into college. Whether they can afford it or not, they're doing the best they can to help you get in there. Whatever supplies they buy, they're subsidizing your life at 18, 19, 20 years old, 21, 22, 23 years old. When you're living by yourself and your mom comes over and brings you food and does your laundry, when you come back from college and do your laundry at your parents' house, you're still benefiting from your parents' resources. Even if you only come back once a season for the holidays and do your laundry at your parents' house, you are still benefiting from your parents' resources. Okay. Now, after a certain period of time, 30, 40 years old, you end up trying to be self-sustainable, but everybody has that situation where you broke up with somebody and now you're back living at home with a family member because this economy does not support one income. Very few people make enough money, because you got to understand that comfortable standard of living is about $68,000 a year, $72,000 a year. There's a lot more Americans that are making $50,000 a year than there are Americans making $65,000 a year. Okay. Which ultimately means that you are going to have to partner with somebody else or get a part-time job on top of your full-time job in order to sustain that 68,000 a year. Right. Now, nobody's going to admit that, but I had covered it on the show a couple months back, and a lot of people have either one person with two jobs or more than one person living in that location that have a job, and you have two or three incomes in that household to sustain that household at that income level. Now, the lower the income level, the less often that individuals might have two jobs, because a $30,000 a year lifestyle might have a single job. Special shout out to OG Kicks. But when you start talking about 50, 60, $70,000 a year lifestyle, that is two jobs. Whether it's two jobs from one person or two jobs from two people, or three jobs from two people, that's two jobs. So that is what society is like, bro. So if it's not you and your homeboy as a roommate situation, you and your girlfriend as a roommate situation, you and your brother, you and your sister, you and your mom and dad, that's how it's going to be. More than 60% of this country is like that. He said if you have two jobs, both jobs are low paying, better get a better job or an education. And you can say that, Michael, because you're retired. Truth of the matter is that both jobs are going to be lower paying jobs, because both jobs are going to be manual labor jobs, because individuals that are coming out of high school going into college do not have the connections to get grandfathered into a $100,000 a year job. Therefore, since we are taught from childhood to show up and provide our presence for pay, and we put in a lot of effort so that our presence is respected enough to continue to get paid, we get paid to be here, and we take that income where our time is now monetized, and we take that income and we use it for our standard of living. In order for us to have a $70,000 a year standard living, we have to monetize our time to start having something closer to a $5,000 or $6,000 a year or $5,000 or $6,000 a month income. When we start trying to hit us with a $5,000 or $6,000 per month income to have that $70,000 a year lifestyle, we start trying to have two jobs that are paying us $3,000 a month, which is ironically like a $20 an hour job. You just got two of them. So saying, oh, well, get an education, where you yourself have said education is a scam because education doesn't teach you how to do anything other than be a worker, which means you're going to go to college, get $200,000 worth of debt to be the night shift manager at a McDonald's, right? Because you need a bachelor's degree to be a night shift manager at a McDonald's. But that does not mean that you're going to get a better job than what you would have gotten had you just dropped out of college and started being a night shift manager at McDonald's when you were 18, 19, and 20, right? You say get a better job, but if you don't know what skill set you have, which is what I try to teach you guys on a regular basis, if you don't know what skill set you have, you don't know what better jobs you qualify for. And if you don't have the skill sets for a better job, you don't have the capabilities to get the better job, which means you must find and learn the skill sets necessary to perform on the better jobs that you would prefer to do. Because you don't have to go to college to learn how to code. You just have to meet somebody who knows how to code and have them teach you. And if it's one of your buddies that's a coder, they will teach you for free. And if this is going to end up being, side note, y'all, an apprenticeship style, shadowing style situation. Your homeboy codes for work. You want to know how to code. When your homeboy is off, he'll show you some tips and tricks. You'll start learning that stuff. You start becoming efficient at it. Your homeboy might have you aid him because you're willing to do it for free just for the skill set in doing the work. You start making his job easier. He starts outperforming the expectations of his job. He starts qualifying for raises and bonuses and bigger projects. And then he will start paying you a subcontracted pay, today's show, to perform. You can use that skill set until you don't want to work with your homeboy no more. And then you could say, because you worked with X, Y, and Z company with your homeboy coding, you can use that on your resume to go work for a legitimate coding company. All you have to do is put yourself in the position to learn the knowledge and the skill set that you need to be successful. So it's not as simple as saying, oh, well, just go find you a better job. Just go find you a better job. Because what do you classify as a better job, right? Take Sterling, for example. He was working at a Walmart. He can quit from Walmart, go work at a Publix, but he's going to go from working at minimum wage at $7 to $10 an hour to working for a little above minimum wage for $15 to $18 an hour. But if it's not enough, how does he transition from being a cashier at a grocery store to being an office manager? How do you transition from being a bartender to being a surgeon? How do you transition from being a mechanic to being an architect? You can't. If you're transitioning inside of your skill set, you'll go from working for somebody to working for yourself. But when you transition from guaranteed pay to non-guaranteed pay, you have the instability of building your brand because you don't already have a reputation. That's what I teach you guys when we told you guys at the top of the hour that you got to build your brand. You have to build your identity. Me on this and that, teaching people how to make, save, and invest money on a regular basis, and then teaching people after the show. If I started up a business that says Xander's teaching folks, everybody out the gate was saying, this man teach people. I seen his podcast. I built my brand on it. FX Trader says, so true. Most college degrees are worthless. They are. They don't apply the skill sets. He says, then skip school and become a night shift manager then. So you contradict your previous statement. If you're already a night shift manager and you have to work a second job because you don't make enough money, how do you sustain you're gonna need a second job? So how do you stop working two low-paying jobs and go find you a better job if your solution now is to skip school and become a night shift manager and still be in the same position you was in when I said that you have to pivot by learning new skills in order to qualify for a higher paying job? Because while places like Waffle House will pay you $72,000 a year, you're still working 55 to 60 hours a week. And while there are other jobs out there that you can work 35 to 40 hours a week and get that same $72,000 a year, if you don't have the skill set, you can't get the job. And the skill set isn't taught in college. Research material is taught in college. The skill set is learned in real world participation. So when you go to college, you're going to college to get book smarts. Some book smarts are applicable in reality, but not all of it. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. He says, if I can get there, you can too. I graduated. Is that what we are trying to accomplish? No, that's not what we're trying to accomplish. If you can get there 55 or 60 years ago, the times have changed. It is still possible to do, but it is a lot harder to accomplish because the hurdles have changed. And that's what I have been talking about on a regular basis, is to tell you guys how to get on a different platform of your life where you are now adapting to the modern times. And that's one of the hardest things you have to do, Michael, is because your solutions are 1950s solutions in 2026. They don't apply. They're a good foundation, but they're not applicable. And because they're not applicable, let's set the part here, Michael. You have your own rental properties. You have hundreds of acres of rental property. You have stable income already set up. You are already retired. Your free time is used going to estate sales and auctions and taking your leisure time to take the extra money you don't need to pay bills to buy stuff so that you can sell it for a profit, not because you need the money, but because you don't have anything better to do and it's fun, you like it, that's what you enjoy. You are at the finish line, giving finish line advice to the people at the starting line. I'm telling people at the starting line, this is what you got to do to get to the finish line. And that is where the difference in our advice comes from. because where there's a will, there's a way, but how do you get there is still the underlying question that not everybody knows how to answer. And that's what I try to provide information on, is how to get there. Multiple different ways on how to get there, if that makes sense. So you can graduate from college, but college would be better suited for you if you went there to network with people. You can walk out with a degree, but you should use your college time as a self-identifier of I'm a college student, so that you can get VIP access into the field that you want to get into, intern there, network there, do some shadowing there, get the years of experience off the clock, probably for free, because they are willing to let you do it for no pay before they have to cut you a salary and pay you to do it. And then once you get the years of experience on it, then you go and start up your own business or go apply for a job or whatever the case may be, because you got the skill set while you were in college. You learn the skills outside of the classroom while you get the book smarts to give you the piece of paper that says that you're smart enough to know how to read, write, and spell and answer tests, trivial questions about history, not about real world application on your job. He says, if you want something bad enough, you'll figure it out. No, you won't. We have 99% of Americans that are poor, and most of us don't want to be that way. But the largest majority of us don't know how. We know how to maintain. We know how to sustain. We know how not to fall off, but we don't know how to stop being poor. The bottom 30% are poor and don't know why. We blame other people. We blame the government. We blame slavery. We blame social classism. We don't blame ourselves, but we were born, and we blame our parents, our grandparents, whatever. We were born in poverty. We have lived our whole lives in poverty. We are still in poverty, probably a little bit better than what we were 20 years ago, but we're still not satisfied with the lifestyle that we wish we had versus the lifestyle we actually have, and we don't know how to bridge the gap. So the mentality of you'll figure it out, that's a deflective, dismissive train of thought, because it's like, well, fuck it, whatever. That's exactly how that is projected, as fuck it, whatever. They want to change, they want to improve, and they haven't figured it out yet. And that's why I'm here trying to help them figure it out. He says, no, the dressing has changed, but the principle of money has never changed. Okay, you are correct to that magnitude, but where you're incorrect is that you make it seem like it's simple, right? You make it seem like it's simple. It's easy to transition. It is easy to improve. And that's not how it works. It's not that easy. It is difficult to transition. It is difficult to improve, especially when you don't know how. It is difficult to transition and improve when you do not have the right support system. If you are in a group of failures, it is harder for you to succeed than it would be if you were in a group of successful individuals. You would not know that you were in a group of failures until you stop failing right along with them. Then we are already instinctually conditioned to be loyal to the people that we already knew. So now we feel guilty parting ways from failure so that we can start being successful. And some of us refuse to do away with a lot of our failure friends so that we can maintain loyalty with those failure friends, and that delays our ability to be successful. Nothing is simple, but you have to start somewhere. Yes. And what I need to tell people on a regular basis on the show, assuming that the majority of people have come here for the first time, is that you have to start from the beginning. So somewhere in your life, on the path of getting to where you're trying to go, you have to pivot. And when you pivot, that is when you start a new beginning. And I am not going to give you expert level advice from a 5 years in the making of success to say that that's what you need to do as your first step. No, I've got to give you intro level advice on how to get to the 5 years of performance, so that when you get to the 5 years of performance, you can say that I actually bridged the gap and now I am successful, not you'll figure it out. If there is a path that is less taken on this road, you might tell somebody, go down the street a ways, look to your right, you'll see an open patch of grass with the cut into the fence. If you go through that fence, that trail will lead you to your destination quicker. Now, your initial advice was not walk down the hidden path to get to where you want to go. It was, this is where the hidden path is. Go there, take that path, and then you'll reach your destination sooner. So it requires you to change your mentality, Michael, to a start here perspective, not, oh, I'm successful, you can be successful too. That's a guru statement. With 90-something% of Americans not successful or not as successful as they would like, you look at 73% of Americans that are under $100,000 a year. You have what, 40 or 50% of Americans under $50,000 a year. If 1% of Americans made it, that is a very low probability of success in comparison to the 99% of Americans that are still trying to make it. So just because we can list off the top of our heads 5 or 10 household names that have made it to millionaire and billionaire status, where some of them inherited generational wealth, the majority of us are not inheriting generational wealth. And we are starting from generation one of going from not being financially successful to being financially successful. And your logic has to be changed for that. He says, then change the people you're hanging out with. You did it. Yeah, I changed all the people that I hung out with. I think I only got one person from back in the day that I still connect with, and I only connect with that person because I still have some value in that person, but not enough value in that person to talk to that person more than twice a season. So out of 90 days, I talk to that person probably 2, not more than 3 times, unless I need him to do something. When he becomes more valuable by him performing more effectively, then I can start talking to him weekly or monthly. But as it stands right now, it's really only like once a month or once every other month kind of situation. FX Trader, is it difficult to transition? Oh, it's fucking impossible in some situations because you don't know what to do. And that's what I was explaining to Michael. If you don't know what to do or where to go, then you're not going to be able to make that transition. He said a good example is when they shut down the coal mines and told the miners to learn coding software for computers. Right. But think about this, though. You have some people at 18 years old that join the military. All they know how to do is follow instructions and kill people. They get discharged from the military after 30 years of service. They don't know how to do anything other than shoot guns. Now, that means that they're limited in their skill set as to what they're going to do. Police officers, security guards, mall cops, CIA agents, FBI agents, they're limited with the things that they're going to be able to do because their skill set is in following instructions and killing people. So what do? They become a state trooper. They become SWAT. They become a local law enforcement agent. Hands down, if you look at some of the most aggressive bad decisions made by what would be considered a good cop, is typically somebody that is ex-military that has joined the police force, because they're using overly aggressive tactics from their experience in life in their day-to-day job because they came pre-trained for a different scenario. Transition is hard. Now, take a ex-military personnel that isn't physically capable of being a security guard or a police officer or a sheriff or a CIA agent or whatever the case may be. If your skill set is killing people and taking orders, and you can no longer kill people to take orders, you can't be a hitman. That's illegal. So what you don't have a skill set. What job do you do fresh out of the military that allows for you to sustain your standard of living? You see Uber and Lyft is protesting because they're not getting paid enough. So if you were a convoy driver for the military, can't do that now. Just because you got field training to be a medic in the military doesn't mean that you can do that in your personal life. You still have to pass the medical bar to treat people. You can't do that now. You have to learn a whole new skill set. And that's one of the reasons why the military created a transitionary program to help retired veterans be reincorporated back into society. Transition is hard. Yes, that's correct, Michael. Prerequisite class 100 level. That's what you're giving them. And I'm trying to start them at level 1. You're trying to start at level 100. He said, so the truth is, there will still be 99% in life who will never make it, even if you handled their hands. Well, I'm not gonna hold the hands of anybody. I actually have family that I tell them I'm not gonna hold your hand. I refuse to hold your hand. I was raised to get it up and get it done. So I understand where you're coming from, Michael. At the end of the day, I was taught to figure it out. I was from that last generation of people, go figure it out. But what we have to recognize is that if we're going to teach the next generation how to achieve, we can't just tell them go figure it out. It didn't work for us the way it could have had we were shown all of the right things we needed to know to succeed, right? Because a lot of people come to the show and say, well, damn, if I would have known what I know now, I would have made better decisions back then and I would be better off right now. And that's what we're trying to teach today. He says, won't want to be a police officer today. Hell no, not the way they're getting done. He said convoy drivers, CDL, but convoy drivers, CDLs are being replaced by self-driving cars. Convoy driver, Lyft, Uber, Uber Eats, Postmates, Walmart, what do they call that? Skip, Shock, whatever, Spark, getting replaced by, you see what I'm saying? Yeah, you figure it out from 1956, 1945, but let's be real, Michael. Figure it out is not what we're doing in 2026. I'm teaching them the ways to be successful. So let's look at that. But let's go ahead and dive into today's show because I know that we got about 45 to 50 minutes here. I'm going to try to get as much of this as possible. Because today we're supposed to be talking about the 12-month contracts and how to acquire good talent. So what if the secret to attracting your most valuable long-term employees was to hire them on 12-month contracts? And I know that sounds totally backwards, but in a world where everyone is chasing job security, why would anybody who's a top performer pick a job with a built-in expiration date, right? It's a pretty decent questions for y'all. Trader says that millions of transportation jobs are going away. Yes, they are. One of the things that's why I tell Michael that CDL is a good idea from 1956, but you have to understand that in 2026, 50 years later, a CDL is not job security. It is a job, but it is not a guaranteed secure job. And why is it not a guaranteed secure job? Tesla has self-driving vehicles. Tesla now has competitors with self-driving vehicles that are working in the industry of transporting goods and services. They have rigs, 18-wheelers that are self-driving. While, as you said, there's only like 400 of them out there right now because this is the pilot year. It does not mean that exponential growth will not happen. 400 of them this year could turn into 40,000 in 5 years. And each time a truck replaces 2 drivers, you lose 4 jobs. You got to think about that. In the beginning, it doesn't hurt that much. But think about what happened with Amazon. They put a small number of machines on the workforce that replaced 200,000 employees that no longer have a job with Amazon. Not because they were bad workers, but because they're no longer needed. If you're walking into a career that is now transitioning away from human work, And Elon Musk was just saying this earlier today, that AI machinery is vastly expanding in the workforce and producing goods and services. And since they're producing goods and services on an exponential basis, far more round the clock than what it used to be back in the day, the supply is increasing to the magnitude that Elon Musk predicts that by 2036, we won't even need currency because we'll have too much supply and not enough demand. And when there's high supply and low demand, the price goes down until it ends up start being given away. Now, what manufacturers will do in order to reduce the supply so that they can keep the demand high is they will reduce the performance of the workload in order to maintain the supply demand ratio. But what they're going to end up doing is first laying off the expensive employees and maintaining the cheap employees. So the 20-year-long people who've been in there forever will go. They're not going to hire new people. They're going to have machines take over, and it's going to be forever downsizing the more technology advances. So with Uber and Lyft replacing the standard cab service, the self paid cab service, and now you have Uber, Lyft, self cab service, Waze, and RoboCab, where Tesla is self-driven taxi cabs. You have the rideshare market being dominated by two major companies. Then with rigs being starting to replace, you have certain companies that all of their trucks are self-driven. As those trucks are successful, the hourly wage of a person per mile is going to be more expensive than the annual maintenance of these vehicles. All they have to do is put vehicles along the route that is inside of the charge rate of those trucks, and they may have one person at each stop to plug the damn truck in, and that'll be it, which replaces the two drivers it took to get the truck there, which means that at least one driver gets replaced each time. And the cost of the truck annually is cheaper than the salary of each one of the people. So they're gonna pivot away from humans and pivot towards machines because machines are cheaper and can work 24/7. A truck, a 500-mile truck, a 500-mile range truck that can drive itself. You can have a truck every 450 miles and across 4,500 miles, which is basically from one side of America to the other. You can have 10 trucks, and each one of those trucks costs $100,000, which is $1 million worth of money. But now you are no longer paying $65,000 per person for 10 people, which is $650,000. And if you're doing, and that's it, 10 people, one person per truck, you're doing 10 people or 20 people, 2 people per truck to do that long journey. You're now looking at $1.2 million to replace humans with trucks. You're saving $200,000 a year because it's your truck that they're driving. That's why I'm trying to tell you, it makes sense, but you gotta modernize your mentality, Mike. He says, I think I'll buy several drones and start delivering food. You could. It seems that investing in stocks will never go away. It's a pretty safe job. Okay, so as it stands right now, nobody is creating fintech that is investing automated for people. You have the trade bots for Bitcoin, but we have not seen excessively successful trade bots for the stock market. So until somebody makes that, working on Wall Street trading is a good job. But guess what happened? They did not automate the trade through a machine where a machine can trade on your behalf. Instead, they made it so easy that you no longer have to pay the agent to trade. So the workers on Wall Street have less customers because more people can trade for themselves and not need the years of knowledge that Wall Street has, right? And they can learn as they go. And as they feel comfortable, they can put their money into the market. Now, while it does allow for more people to fail and allow more money to circulate through the market, less people are paying trade commission and still losing their money than what they did back in the day. Back in the day, in order for you to trade, you had to call a broker and make the deal happen. Today, all you have to do is pull up your Stash app and just push a button, and the trade is made in the middle of the night. So while you trading for yourself will no longer go away, you paying somebody else to trade has disappeared. You don't have to do that anymore. Back in the day, that was a luxury in life. Michael says, well, there won't be any needs for people except manual jobs. Manual jobs are going to be the first ones that's going to be replaced by machines. So the only jobs that are going to be guaranteed will be the jobs where you're maintaining the machines until they create machines to maintenance other machines. So one of the last jobs that humans will be in will be tech jobs to maintenance the software, and engineering jobs to maintenance the equipment. Those are going to be the jobs that are going to be left. But everything else that can be done by a machine will be done by a machine. Look at what we got right now. We've got girlfriend robots. Next gen robots that are going to come out will be boyfriend robots. Social interaction is going to be segregated, where men will be dating machines, women will be dating machines. Why? Because everybody wants a partner that'll listen, but nobody wants to listen to their partner. That is not what we were supposed to be talking about today. But I just want you guys to understand that this is true to life dynamics. He says, that's what I mean. Trading for yourself, if you know what you are doing. Yes. And if you come here, you will know what you're doing. You will figure it out, and you will be able to linger on that. So let's get into this real quick because we got about an hour left. I know that we were all taught that permanent jobs meant stability and commitment, and while contracts are just for filling gaps for workers that you aren't quite sure about yet, in today's wild and competitive talent market, the smartest companies are flipping that logic on its head, and they are using fixed term contracts not as a clumsy way to cut costs, but as a strategic scalpel. It's going to be a tool to attract elite individuals, in demand pros in the field who would otherwise never consider a traditional permanent role at their company. And they're using these contracts to de-risk huge hiring decisions, making their workforce more agile, and ultimately building a stronger, higher performing team. Trader says, this is where I draw the line. No dating robots. I mean, I agree with you, but you got to look at the dynamics that we have right now. We have men who are looking for partners that help, and in the sense of achieving the tasks that need to be done when a man is too busy to do it. Then we have women that want to be in charge. They want subordinate men, but they want leaders. So in order for to have that happen, if a woman was dating a Siri or an Alexa, where it does what she says when she says it, but she can ask it to perform a task and it'll do it, she won't have a problem with that. Women don't respect men who are like that. They call them simps. Flip side, women don't want to be told what to do. So a man cannot request with the wrong tone of voice or the wrong selected quantity of words that a woman does anything that helps the man out, because she's going to feel like it's a chore, like it's a burden on her. I actually just watched a video on that earlier today. A man and a woman was standing in the kitchen, standing in the laundry room. The woman asked the man to hand her a shirt out of the dryer. He handed her the shirt, no questions asked. He told her to fold the towel that was on top of the dryer, and she went into defense mode. Now, in the exact same moment that he did what he was told to do with no questions asked, she didn't say please, she didn't say will you, she said, "Ooh, hand me that shirt right there." That was it. And handed her the shirt. Flip side, exact same moment, he said, "Fold that towel right there." Why? I'm going to use it later. Oh, I put it there because Why do I have to do it? I fold the other 3 towels. Why do I got to do this towel? They don't want to be told what to do, but they want a man that follows instructions. Reciprocation means that if I'm going to do what you say, do at a drop of a hat, you're supposed to do what I say, do at a drop of a hat. Therefore, since men can't get that, a machine that will do whatever they want them to do, that's what a man is going to fall back on. Now, while you're thinking from the intimate side of things that you're probably not going to have a robot as your girlfriend where you're doing nasty things with her in the bedroom, the fact is that you are able to, hey Alexa, hey Siri, hey Cortana, I can't think of, hey Gemini, hey Google, and tell an AI assistant to do things on your behalf so that you can have hands free. Guess what? Put that program into a robot that is following you around all day, and that's your girlfriend. Because if you understand that in 1945, 1955, 1972, hey Google, hey Cortana, hey Alexa, hey Siri, used to be, hey honey, can you do X, Y, and Z for me? And your wife will go and do it. I ain't doing that. I ain't your slave. Da 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 is what we started getting in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, and men started creating machines to do it for us. That's why technology advances itself, because technology replaces lazy behavior in men and women alike. So as technology improves and social segregation continues, we are going to find more value with social media and less value with in-person interaction. And we're going to find more value in robotic interaction and AI interaction, because the machine is not judged by us and the machine will not judge us. And we can bark orders and instructions any kind of way to the machine, and the machine will follow instructions. Everybody wants it. Nobody wants to do it. That's a double standard that cannot be met, which is why we have the dating battles that happen on a regular basis, red pill, blue pill, black pill podcast. And ultimately you find yourself in a situation where the solution to the problem is replace the human with a machine that performs better. And ultimately that's what big business did. Instead of having workers talk back for pay, replace them with a machine. Machines are cheaper and won't talk back. Now, in addition to getting the cream of the crop getting the cream of the crop out of the workforce, a lot of other companies get this disproportionately wrong. They use 12-month contracts to get long-term work without a long-term commitment, creating a two-tier system that repels the exact talent that you want to attract. So where do you draw the line? How's the best company going to design the roles to be a magnet for talent, while others creating the exact same role and are just a massive red flag? So we're going to try to cover as much of this as we can over the next 55 minutes, but we're going to break down how a 12-month contract works at the fascinating intersection of employer risk and worker opportunity. And we're going to be showing you guys exactly how the world's best organizations design these roles to get a competitive edge. And the most important thing that we're going to be talking about, we're going to be giving you the full playbook on how you can use this strategy to attract top performers. Now, we've put the playbook into the membership. So whatever we don't cover today is in the membership already. So you can always go to YouTube channel and go and take a look at the membership and see what we got going on. But we're going to give you information, or we've already provided the members information about how to manage your own business risks and build more dynamic and resilient teams, which is part of what we were arguing earlier today, which is one of the reasons why I segued into that, because it's actually relevant to what we've got going on. In order for you to be more successful in life, you first have to change your decisions, then you have to change the people around you, because if the people around you do not perform, you will not succeed. Now, before we get into the solution, we got to talk about the brutal, honest problem. The old way of hiring permanent employees for every single job is becoming more and more risky and inefficient for everyone involved. We're going to call that modern hiring dilemmas. For employers, the pain points are obvious and getting worse. First, there is the insane cost and the time of recruiting. Finding and interviewing and onboarding a new permanent employee is a massive investment. You spend months searching, countless hours in interviews, and a ton of money on recruiters, and the internal resources are being exhausted. If that hire doesn't work out, if there's a bad performer or a terrible culture fit, the cost is astronomical, and then you have to offboard that person. You haven't just lost all that time and money, you've also lost productivity, damaged team morale, and now you have to go through the legality and emotionally drained process of letting them go, only to start that expensive hiring cycle all over again. This is going to lead to the second big problem, which is a total lack of flexibility. Because in today's economy, what a business needs can change on a dime, and a major priority today could be irrelevant in 6 months, especially since AI is running rapid. So a new technology can pop up demanding a skill set that your team just doesn't have. But being locked into a permanent workforce makes it incredibly hard for individuals to pivot. So you can't scale up for a big new project without adding long-term headcounts, and you can't scale down without painful, brand-damaging layoffs. After years of economic ups and downs, companies are understandably nervous about long-term payroll commitments. This inflexibility is going to be a huge competitive disadvantage in a world that rewards speed. And often for employees, especially the top performers, the traditional model has its own issues, because a permanent job can sometimes feel like a golden cage. If you're a highly skilled professional, you want to work on the most exciting, impactful projects. You want to be constantly learning and adding new valuable skills to your resume. But in a big company, a permanent role can sometimes lead to stagnation. You might get stuck maintaining old systems or working on projects that don't match your career goals. Your patch. I had a guy who was working semiconductors. He was subcontracted for his work, and he needed to get promoted to a different tier in order to maintain his green card status. He worked for the company for 4 years. They promoted everybody else in his department, didn't promote him. He was the last one. And instead of them promoting him, they put him in back office work because they needed somebody in back office work. Now, the problem is he has to start his green card over because he didn't negotiate with them. Hey, you need me here, but I need my green card. Can you process my green card while I'm in the client-facing portion of things, so that while I'm maintaining the company-facing position, I can still maintain my status, and then you can put me back into the client-facing position down the line and still be able to maintain my status. He didn't have that negotiation. I told him, he didn't listen. So he had to choose between going back to his home country or starting his visa over, which delays him getting his, it's a 10-year process or longer, delays it by another 2 years. It frustrated him, right? Because as skilled as he was, working on, I think, his second or third master's degree, and still being put in a routine maintenance position after training people and everything to that effect. Your path up the ladder might be also blocked by office politics or rigid corporate structures. On top of that, today's top talent values flexibility and autonomy more than ever. They want the freedom to pivot their careers, get experience in new industries, and then take a planned break between intense projects. A permanent job can feel like a multi-year commitment that shuts off the possibilities. The very security that a permanent job is supposed to offer can actually feel like a barrier to growth for the most ambitious individuals. So now that you've got this basic tension, employers are paralyzed by the risk and inflexibility of permanent hiring. Top performers are nervous about the stagnation and the lack of options in the same job. And the old model that I keep telling Michael is cracking under the pressure of the new world of work is something that we have to improve and change. This is going to be the exact environment that we are all designing a 12-month contract for. This isn't just an alternative, it is a better strategic solution for both sides. So, what exactly is the 12-month contract? And why is it so much more than just a temp work thing? It is at its core a 12-month contract that is specific for the kind of fixed term employment that a lot of people are looking for. This isn't some casual freelance gig. It's a formal job with one crucial difference. It has a clear end date. The contract will spell out the start date and the expiration date, say from July 1st of 2026 to June 30th, 2027. When that date arrives, the job automatically ends unless it's actively renewed or converted to a permanent position. Now, this is actually a good scenario because it usually takes the first 3 months for somebody to get comfortable in the job and actually start performing. Within the next 6 months, you have to achieve effectively in order for the company to start talking about keeping you on or extending your contract. The last 3 months of your employment is the most pinnacle because the employee would have to perform for the renewal contract. And a renewal contract should come with, I don't remember if we're going to be talking about that today or not, it should come with raises and other such things. So this is an interesting dynamic because it's almost like a pay to play or performance contract that says, look, you're going to come in, you're going to do the best you can. And every year, in order for you to stay employed with us, we're going to evaluate your performance and determine how much more you should get paid to stay, if any, or if we need to replace you. This is one of the things that we're going to be talking about. And this automatic ending date is going to be the key legal detail that separates it from a permanent contract, because with the permanent employment, the job just keeps going until someone, either the employee or the company, takes action to end the deal, like resignation or firing, which can be legally complicated process. With a fixed term contract, the end date itself is the main off-ramp. No need for unemployment compensation, because you got to understand, unemployment compensation comes from the recognition that you were laid off unnecessarily. More often than not, people are not fired for doing a bad job. They're fired for something unrelated to their work performance while on the job. If you got fired for your interactions with your peers, you did a good work, but you just don't socialize well. If you got fired for making a customer mad or insulting the boss or not wearing your uniform correctly, you did not get fired for not doing the job. You got fired for unwork related situations. And that's where workman's compensation comes in, because it's a subsidy for you being unnecessarily let go, and for reasons other than not working hard enough, right? Which a lot of the times employers want to force you to quit so that they don't have to pay that, because if you voluntarily stop showing up, which is equivalent to the contract ending, they don't have to pay you that workman's comp, or that unemployment compensation. What people don't pay attention to is these 12-month contracts make a lot of sense, because if you're only going to work with me for a year, I'm only going to extend your contract if you're valuable. If you're not valuable, I can just let you go because your term ends, and you do not get unemployment when your contract stops because you're subcontracted. Now, it's really important to get this. It doesn't mean that the employee has absolutely no rights. In most places, fixed term employees are entitled to many of the same core rights and protections as permanent staff, like access to the benefits and protection from unfair dismissal in certain situations. And that's where unemployment compensation is going to be listed under, is the unfair dismissal. You didn't wear the right uniform, you didn't wear the right clothes, so I'm letting you go. You know, I don't like your attitude, I'm letting you go. You don't show up for work on time often enough, I'm letting you go. But when you get here, you come to work and you stay late and you help out, you cover extra shifts and you do double overtime, you just don't show up on time. Again, it is not a fair dismissal, but it is still a dismissal in and of itself. So unemployment compensation covers all of that. The idea is of equal treatment is going to be key. You can't and shouldn't treat a fixed term staff member like a second class citizen, even though we do find in a lot of big businesses the the subcontracted individuals are not treated with the same level of respect by the employees as the people with permanent contracts on the job. It's also important to separate this from independent contractors or freelance agreements, which is by the task contracts. If I'm paying you to put in a vending machine, that's different from me paying you to work for me for 12 months. So a person on a 12-month contract is typically an employee of the company. They're on your payroll, you handle their taxes, they're part of your team. And this is different from a contractor who runs their own business and provides you with a service. That distinction is going to be a huge deal for legal compliance, especially at the tax authorities, because they're cracking down on misclassifying your workers. So when we talk about using the 12-month contract as a strategic tool, we're going way beyond its traditional use for simply covering a maternity leave or a short absence. We're talking about deliberately creating a role with a 1-year lifespan to hit specific business goals, roles designed to attract a level of talent that might not be available or willing to sign up for a permanent job. So you want to think of it this way. Instead of seeing the 1-year limit as a bug, strategic employers sell it as a feature. It is a 1-year mission, a high impact tour of duty, a chance to come in, solve a huge problem, deliver massive value, and put a major win on your resume. When you design and talk about it like that, a 12-month contract is transformed from a temporary fix into a powerful and exciting offer. It becomes the perfect middle ground between a high cost, low flexibility contractor and a high commitment, inflexible permanent hire. So let's get into the specifics here. If we have to look at it, we would have to recognize there are about 5 ways to smartly design a 12-month contract that can create powerful wins, letting you attract elite talent while managing your company's risks. The single biggest risk is going to be hiring the unknown. No matter how many interviews you do, references you check, or personality tests that you give, you never really know how much someone will perform or not until they are on the job. You don't know if they'll hit their targets, work well with the team, or if their values actually line up with the culture that's already on the job. A bad permanent hire is one of the most expensive mistakes a manager can make, because not only does it negatively impact your ability to keep that person, that person could cause other people on the job that are highly experienced and more valuable to remove themselves from the job before you remove this person, which might cause you to lose 2 or 3 people. This is going to be where the 12-month contract becomes your best de-risking tool. It's the ultimate try before you buy for both the company and the employee. From the company side, it's a year-long, real-world audition for a high-stakes role. Over 12 months, you'll gather a ton of performance data. Are they reliable? Do they take initiatives? How do they handle pressure? How do they add to the team culture? Are they obedient and follow instructions? You're judging them on actual observable performance, not just how well they answer interview questions. This is so much better than that standard 90-day probationary period. 90 days is often too short for someone to really get up to speed, especially in a complex role. They're still learning the system and who's who. But over 12 months, there's nowhere to hide. You see them through multiple business cycles, project deadlines, team challenges, and at the end of the year, you can make a decision about a permanent offer based on a mountain of evidence, not just a gut feeling. The temp to perm model is a fantastic way to do it. When it's done transparently, it lets you convert only your proven A players into long-term team members which dramatically improves the quality of your entire workforce. And that is usually what you see in law firms, is that a lot of the people in the law firm came in as interns, right? Hi, appreciate you saying hello. So when you look at that though, they don't have a guarantee where you're going to work for 6 months. We're going to evaluate your stats and put you on permanent. They typically have you as an intern until reviews occur, and then they decide, well, we're going to make you permanent. So eventually you get in there. That's how it works. Now, from here, it's going to be critical parts of the company that a lot of people are going to miss. It's a two-way street that you have to pay attention to. The top talent is also using this period to audition you, right? An elite professional with in-demand skills has options. They don't have to hang out with you. The last thing that they want is to get stuck in a toxic workplace or a dead-end job with a company that wasn't honest in the interview. Because you do have, just as quick as people lie about their skill set on the job, you have companies that lie about the benefits that they offer. A 12-month contract gives them a safe exit ramp. It lets them experience your company culture for themselves. Is the leadership competent? Is the work as interesting and challenging as you promised? Or, do I get respected the way I expect to be respected? Does the company actually live by the values that I live by? Are there real opportunities to grow in this company, or is it a bureaucratic mess? By offering 12-month contracts, you're showing confidence in your own company. You're saying, hey, come work with us for a year. We're sure you're going to love working here, the team and the mission, that you're going to want to stay, right? For a high performer, that's way more attractive than a permanent offer from a company that they don't know, which can feel like a blind leap of faith. The contract lowers the barrier for them, making them more willing to take the chance on you, right? So it reframes the whole hiring process from being married to a serious dating relationship to both sides getting to see what it's really like to work together before making that lifelong commitment. And it's kind of the same thing that we do with dating. Instead of us saving ourselves until marriage and then living together after we get married, we instead find ourselves in situations where we're sleeping with our partner first, we're living with them first, and then after we do all of that, then we find ourselves in a situation where we're getting married because I've lived with you for several years. I know how you're going to behave. Now I'm willing to marry you, which is one of the major reasons why I tell you guys is that the way they behave before the marriage is the way they're going to behave after the marriage, if not worse. So if you don't like the way they behave, you cannot say that you're going to marry them, because it's not going to work out for you, because they are already underperforming to the level of your expectations. Now, this mutual tryout ensures that if a permanent role is offered and accepted, it's building on a foundation of real success and genuine fit, leading to more engagement, better performance, and a way less turnovers in the long run. Now, in the 21st century economy, we have speed and adaptability that are going to be everything. The ability to pivot your strategy, shift resources, and scale your team to react to the market is what separates winners from the dinosaurs. A rigid, permanent only workforce is an anchor in this fast moving world. 12-month contracts, on the other hand, are the sails, letting you catch the winds of opportunity and navigate the storms of change. So the most obvious use is going to be for managing budgets and demanding swings. Maybe you just landed a huge client, but the work is for a specific 18-month project, or you may find yourself with funding that comes from an annual grant that might not get renewed. In these cases, hiring permanent staff is just financially irresponsible. A fixed term contract lets you tie your labor costs directly to your renewed or project timelines. For example, people that are government contracts that know that the shutdown happens in October might have their contracts run through September. If the shutdown happens, we don't renew your contract until November when the government goes back up again, right? It prevents you from having too many employees and not enough salary to pay the employees. Fixed term contracts let you tie your labor costs directly to your revenue or the project timelines, where you can bring in extra talent that you need to get the work done without saddling your company with long-term payroll costs that go beyond the project's lifeline. So this isn't about being cheap, it's going to be about being smart and sustainable. This is especially true for project-based work. Think about a major digital transformation, a new system rollout, or a big project launch. These things need a unique mix of specialized skills for a limited time. You might need a team of data migration experts for 9 months or a change management guru for a year. It makes zero strategic sense to hire the specialist as a permanent employee when their main job will disappear once a project is done. 12-month contracts lets you bring in this elite specialized expert precisely when you need it and for exactly how long you need it. So beyond specific projects, this model creates a more flexible and responsive company structure. It gives leaders the ability to scale teams up or down based on business needs without going through that painful moral killing process of layoffs. Research has shown that companies using more short-term contracts can adjust their workforce much faster in response to economic shocks. And this means that during the downturns, you can scale back more easily, and during the upturns, you can ramp up faster than your competitors who are stuck in slow, permanent hiring cycles. Now, this workforce agility is a massive competitive advantage. And from the talent's perspective, the project-based nature is often a huge plus. Many of the most skilled professionals prefer to work this way. They are masters of the craft who love to solve a specific complex problem and then move on to the next challenge. They don't want to spend years maintaining the system they just built. They want to go build another system somewhere else. A role defined by a clear one-year mission to achieve a specific high-stakes goal is a far more exciting way to do this type of work for this type of person than a vague job description for a permanent role. By creating these well-defined project-based roles, you tap into a segment of the talent market that traditional permanent hiring completely misses. And this is going to be the most important part of the whole strategy. A 12-month contract will only attract top talent if the offer is so good that it outweighs the lack of long-term security. If you just offer a standard job with 1 year expiration date, you'll only get candidates who are desperate or mediocre. To attract the elite, you have to design a contract as a truly exceptional opportunity. Now, this is going to be all about your employee value proposition, or EVP. The unique set of benefits that you offer in exchange for someone's skills and commitment is going to be different than just saying, hey, you want a job, work for me for 12 months. So what can you do to create an irresistible contract offer? First, and most obviously, is premium pay. If you're asking someone to take on the risk of a fixed term job, you need to pay them for that risk. This often means a higher base salary, a big completion bonus, or a higher daily rate compared to a smaller permanent role. It's a simple financial transaction. You can even have a bonus, a contract completion bonus, where you might hire that person for a lower pay wage that receives a bonus at the end of the 12-month contract that offsets the annual salary. Let's say that it's a $60,000 a year job and they're going to hire you on at $50,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus after you complete the contract. You might be making the an hour less than everybody else in the room for the next 12 months. But if you stay for the next 12 months, you get that extra $10,000 and potentially either getting another 12-month contract where the $10,000 is paid up front, or you get put on permanent with a pay raise that might move you up to $65,000. Big difference. You're paying a premium for flexibility and for access to a high impact player for a set amount of time. The best talent knows their market value and they accept the position while expecting to be rewarded for taking the job that doesn't have a long safety net. So you don't try to get top talent on a discount. It just shows that you don't really value the work. Second is the change to work ratio. You want to give them a chance to work on a high impact career defining project, something that really means something to the company as well as the employee. Top performers are driven by more than just money. They are driven by purpose and making an impact. Is this role part of a huge strategic initiative? Will they be leading a highly visible project like a company-wide restructuring or the launch of a flagship product? A contract that offers the chance to build something new solves a problem that no one else could, or turn around a failing division that can be incredibly tempting to someone new. It gives them a powerful story for their resume and makes them much more marketable in the future, right? Hello. The chance to get exposure to new technologies or high stakes businesses challenge their capabilities to be successful. This is going to be a form of payment in and of itself. Third is going to be the chance for a skill or industry pivot. A lot of very talented people get pigeonholed in their current industry or their job function. A 12-month contract can be the perfect way for them to break into a new field. For instance, a marketing manager in retail might take a 1-year contract at a tech company to get valuable experience in a fast-growing industry. An engineer might take a contract role focused on a new programming language to quickly upskill, meaning learn something new that they can add to their resume in order for them to promote to the next job. For these people, the contract is a strategic investment in themselves. Your role becomes a launch pad for the next stage of their career, which makes it an incredibly valuable offer. Now, Michael and FX Trader asked earlier at the top of the hour, a couple of hours ago, how do you transition from one job to the other? And is it easy? It's not easy. And this is how you transition. If you have a 1-year contract in a tech firm in a startup position that allows for you to get the 1-year experience under contract to learn how to do the job, if they don't renew your contract, you have 1 year's experience in a tech company, and now you can switch from being a night shift manager at a fast food restaurant to being a mid-level employee in a tech company. This is one of the ways to get it done. Fourth is going to be the power of networking and exposure, because working on high stakes projects for 12 months provides amazing exposure to senior leads and key people across the company. Talented person can use this year to build relationships and impress influential people who can become sponsors, mentors, or resources for other future jobs, either inside the company or somewhere else. And you should frame the role this way. For example, you'll be working directly with our C-suite on this project and presenting to the board every quarter. That kind of access is a powerful currency for ambitious professionals. You're talking to C-suite, you're talking to executive level individuals, right? Finally, you have to be totally upfront and transparent in your messaging. your job description and your conversations with candidates have to clearly sell the value. So don't hide the ball. Be honest about why the role is a contract and what's in it for them, not just what's in it for you. For example, this is a 12-month contract to lead the integration of our latest acquisition. It offers a 15% salary premium over the permanent role and gives you the opportunity to lead a cross-functional team and report directly to the COO. For the right person, this is a chance to add a major corporate integration to your resume. See, that's the kind of honest and compelling framing that is what separates a strategic contract from a cheap temp job. Now, we've talked about the strategic upsides for the 12-month contract. We're going to spend a little bit of time because we all know that there's always going to be a dark side. So before we get into the red flags on how the companies mess this up, you guys drop into the comment sections. Have you ever taken a contract role? Was it a great career move or a frustrating dead end? I'm going to read a majority of the comments that are appropriately structured, and your stories are going to be able to help everyone in the community be able to learn and take different changes towards their improvement. Now, I'm going to spend about 20 more minutes talking about the dark side. For every company using a 12-month contract strategically, there's going to be 10 others using them as a blunt tool to cut costs, creating a toxic environment that drives away the very talent that they need. If your contract roles show any of these red flags, you're not attracting top talent, you're actively scaring it away. So the biggest red flag is going to be using fixed term contracts for core permanent jobs. If you have a role that's essential to your daily operations and it's been filled by a series of rolling 12-month contracts for years, you're sending a very clear negative signal. It tells a smart candidate that your company wants long-term work, but is too cheap or unstable to make a long-term commitment. It suggests that you're either in financial trouble or worse, have an exploitive mindset where you're trying to avoid providing job security and benefits. Top performers with options will see this and run. They want to join a company that invests in its people, not one that treats them like disposable cogs. The second major red flag is creating a second-class citizen culture. This happens when there's a clear and demoralizing difference in how permanent and fixed employees are treated. A contractor's left out of the company all hands meeting, denied the same training and development opportunities, or getting way worse benefits like less paid time off or no retirement plan contributions. When you create this two-tiered system, you breed resentment, you kill collaboration, and you destroy any sense of team spirit. A talented professional will pick up on this culture and divide during the interviews, right? They're going to feel like they're being treated as a temporary resource instead of a valuable team member, right? And some people try to push through it and say, no, I really want this job, but I want to be respected. Others are like, nah, that's not okay. And ultimately, they're going to turn down your offer. Equal treatment isn't just a legal best practice, it's essential for attracting high caliber people. Now, a third and very common red flag is a total lack of career path. The best candidates think about their career story. They want to know what the role leads to. If your answer to what happens after 12 months is a vague shrug, you're going to be in trouble. A contract that feels like a career plateau or worse, a dead end, is deeply unattractive. There has to be a clear, believable story. This could be a transparent temp to perm path where you lay out the performance goals that could lead to permanent offers, or If the purely flexible role that is there, the story should be about the skills, experience, and network that they're going to gain that will set them up for their next great role somewhere else. If the contract doesn't add a compelling new chapter to the career life of the employee, either with you or after you, a top performer is going to see it as a waste of a year. Finally, weak performance management and no feedback are going to be huge turnoffs. Ambitious people crave feedback and development. They want to know how they're going to be doing and how they can get better if they're not doing good enough. So if they get the feeling that a contract role means that they'll just be parked in a corner office doing tasks with minimal guidance or review, they're going to check out. It shows that the company isn't invested in their success, and a strategic contract must include a solid performance management process with regular check-ins, the clear goals, and the constructive feedback everybody expects to see, just like in a permanent role. So if they're looking at this, this is going to show that you're serious about their contributions and their growth, even if it is just for a year, if you're going to provide them with the tools and resources they need to be successful going forward. Using a 12-month contract as a strategy isn't a legal free-for-all. You guys got to understand that. To do this right and ethically, you have to operate within a clear legal framework. Ignoring these rules not only puts your company at a serious legal risk, but also destroys the trust that you need to attract top talent. I got the dog underneath the chair, sitting over here looking at me like, what did I do wrong? Because you are gnawing on my chair. And that's not what we're trying to do today. That's correct. That's correct. I see that person keep coming in. Consuming substances featured in this live could harm your health. What? I'm drinking coffee. What do they mean consuming substances? All right. I don't know what that's about. Drinking caffeine and water. That was wild. I wasn't expecting TikTok to be doing some wild stuff. Now, in many places, laws specifically say that fixed-term employees must not be treated less favorable than singular permanent employees unless there are an objective reason. This applies to pay, benefits, training opportunities, and the right to be told about permanent job openings in the company. For example, offering a lower hourly wage or leaving contract staff out of a company-wide bonus without a good reason could be illegal. The best practice is to align pay and benefits with your internal standards and prorating things like vacation time fairly based on the contract length. Second, you have to get your paperwork right. The contract itself must be crystal clear. It needs to define the start and the end date, the specific purpose of the job, what you're expecting them to achieve, and how the performance will be measured. Ambiguity is going to be your enemy. Keeping secrets and beating around the bush will not benefit you. You need to calendar the expiration date and start talking about renewal or non-renewal well in advance, usually about 90 days out, which is what I told you. They get on the clock, they start working for you the first 90 days, they start getting settled in, they have 6 months of performance, and then the last 90 days you start reevaluating their performance to determine if they're going to stay, if there's room for improvement to extend the contract, or if you're going to let them go if you don't see performance within the next 90 days. Letting a contract just expire without formal conversation is unprofessional and can create legal troubles. For instance, In many jurisdictions, if an employee keeps working past their end date without a new contract, their job can legally be considered a permanent job by default. Just like when you rent from a landlord and you switch over to a month to month because the landlord failed to send you a new lease, your terms of stay change because the employer failed to put in the effort to set the conditions of an extension. This leads to the third critical point, understanding the legal side of a non-renewal. Many managers mistakenly think that at the end of a fixed term contract that they can just let the person go with no process. This is a dangerous assumption. In many places, like in the United Kingdom, if an employee has been on a serious job with a series of renewed contracts for a certain time, like 4-year contract, not renewing their contract is legally treated as a dismissal because you have renewed the contract for 4 years. This means that they might have unfair dismissal rights unless you can justify why the contract wasn't renewed this time. You must have fair reasons for not reviewing or not renewing it, like the project ended, and follow the fair offboarding process. Even for single first-time contracts, not renewing could be a challenge on discrimination grounds, because if they were performing to the magnitude of or better than permanent staff, why did you not keep them on? If they were only assigned to the specific role and the role no longer exists, that's one thing. But if the role still exists and you didn't renew the contract, that's another. So you got to treat this with the same seriousness and fairness as you would a termination. Finally, being ethically transparent is going to be everything. If a role is advertised as temp to perm, you have an ethical duty to be honest about how likely that conversation really is. What are the criteria? Is there a real budgeted permanent spot available? And if you just dangle the carrot of a permanent job to get someone in the door, you destroy your reputation if you don't provide the job. The talent community is going to be small, and word does get around. The most ethical and effective approach is to be more transparent from day one. Have a proactive, honest conversation with the employee at the 6-month and 9-month marks about their performance and what the future looks like for that particular role. This is going to build trust and let the person plan their future, whether it's with you or somewhere else. This respect for the individual is the foundation of a sustainable and reputable talent strategy. Now, got about 15 minutes here before we wrap things up. So far we have focused mostly on employee side of things, on the employer side of things, but to really nail this strategy, you have to understand the math going into the candidate's head. So how should a high performing professional look at the 12-month contract offer? If you understand the decision-making process, you can design a position where your role meets their needs. The top candidate will, whether they realize it or not, run your offer through 4 key tests. Test number 1, career narrative test. The most ambitious people think of their career as a story they're writing. Each job is a new chapter. So the first question they ask is, does this chapter move my story forward? They'll check if the role adds a critical new skill, gets them into a better industry, gives them experience with a prestigious brand, or lets them take on a leadership challenge they couldn't get in a permanent role. If the contract is just more of the same, it's a weak chapter. It's a filler episode. For you as an employer, this means you must be able to explain exactly how this 12-month role builds their career story. Test number 2 is going to be the value trade-off test. And this is a cold, hard calculation of risk versus reward. The candidate will weigh the total value of your offer against a realistic permanent alternative. And this isn't just about salary. The value side includes the salary premium, any completion bonuses, the market value of new skills they're going to learn, and the power of the network they're building. The risk side includes the lack of long-term job security, potential weaker benefits, and the mental energy of knowing they'll need to start job hunting again in about 9 months. Your offer has to be so compelling that the value clearly outweighs the risk. If it's a close call, they may choose the security of a permanent role every time over the insecurity of a non-permanent role. Test number 3 is going to be the security threshold test. And this test is deeply personal and depends on the personal life of the person and the situation that they're currently in. A candidate with a big financial obligation, like a mortgage, a family to support, will have a much lower tolerance for the risk of non-renewal. A younger professional or someone with a financial cushion might be much more willing to trade security for a high impact opportunity. While you can't know their personal finances, you have to realize this is going to be a major factor. You can help them pass this test by being transparent about the potential for renewal and by offering a payback like a big completion bonus that lets them build their own safety net on their way out the door. Like I told you, if you pick them up on a $50,000 a year salary with a $10,000 completion bonus, they know that if they were living check to check on the 50 grand, you're giving them an extra 10 grand, which would likely cover them another couple of months after you let them go, which gives them more than the 3 months right before they leave to look for another job, unless you're going to sign them on again. Now, if you sign them on again, their $50,000 a year annual salary starts turning into a $60,000 a year annual salary, right? Which adds almost an extra 20% to their annual salary year over year just to stay on an extra year, which incentivizes an individual who otherwise would have accepted a $50,000 or $55,000 a year salary as a permanent fixture. It would incentivize them to stick with this temp contract, because at any time the temp contract hits you with a bonus for finishing the first 12 months. Test 4, the signal assessment. This is going to be the point where the candidate will act like a detective, trying to figure out what your use of a contract signals about your company. Does it signal that you're a dynamic, project-based, and aligned company that brings the top-tier specialists for important missions? Because that's the positive signals. Or does it signal that you're financially unstable, that you see employees as disposable, or that you're trying to create a cheaper second-class tier of workers? That is a deeply negative signal. Every part of your recruiting process, the job description, the professionalism of your recruiters, the quality of your interviewers, and the transparency of your offer all contribute to this signal. Getting it right is crucial to make them feel like they're joining a serious strategic organization, not just taking a temporary gig, right? It's worth zooming out for a second and realizing that the strategic use of the 12-month contract is part of a much bigger shift in the world of work, because we're moving away from a job market dominated by lifelong careers at one company and towards a more fluid project-based model. Some people call this gig efficiency. If you're dealing with professional work, they also call it gigification. It's going to be a more nuanced situation than what you would think. It's the rise of the portfolio career, where skilled professionals build a career out of a series of high impact projects instead of just climbing a single corporate ladder. This shift has huge macro level effects from an economic view. A labor market with more fixed term contracts is more volatile because it reacts more sharply to economic booms and busts. During periods of growth, jobs can be created quickly, But during downturns, these contract roles are often the first to be cut. And this means that the burden of an economic adjustment falls harder on this group of workers than anybody else. And this represents a fundamental transfer of risk from the corporation to the individual, where for decades, companies provide a cradle to grave safety net of security and benefits. Now that risk is increasingly on the worker's shoulders, and they have to manage their own career path, plan for times in between jobs, and fund their own long-term security. For top-tier talent, this is a trade-off that they're often willing to make, but in other situations, they're not willing to make this. The flexibility of higher pay and challenging work of strategic contracts can outweigh risk in some situations. They have the skills and the marketability to navigate this new landscape just fine. However, we also have to be aware of the social and ethical sides, because when contracts are used not to hire elite specialists, but to cycle through lower skilled or more vulnerable workers, it can create a precarious life for many, denying them the stability that they need for financial planning, family life, and general well-being. As a leader and organization, we have a choice. We can use these flexible models to create a more dynamic and meritocracy world of work where talent is matched to opportunity with amazing efficiency. Or we can use them to exploit loopholes and dodge our social responsibilities. The companies that will thrive in the coming decade will be the ones that choose the first path. Those that choose contracts as a tool to create genuine win-win scenarios built on respect, transparency, and the compelling exchange of values. So, we got enough time to wrap this up. The 12-month contract is going to be one of the most powerful and most misunderstood tools in the modern talent playbook. We've seen that when it's used poorly as a lazy cost-cutting move, it creates a second-class workforce, and it is a tool for disaster in this scenario. It signals instability, pushes away top talent, and creates a toxic us versus them culture. But when it's designed strategically, it becomes a magnet for elite professionals. A well-crafted 12-month contract de-risks the hiring process for both the company and the candidates, creating a year-long evidence-based audition. It gives your organization critical agility, letting you scale your workforce to meet the fast-changing demands of the market. The key always is value propositions. To attract the best, a contract has to offer clear and compelling answers to the questions that the best have. What's in it for me? That's the biggest question that everybody asks when there is a business deal being done. What's in it for me? Whether it's the premium pay, a career-defining project, a getaway to a new industry, or unmatched access to leadership, the opportunity has to be so valuable that it crushes the lack of permanent security. And they don't have to be concerned about that anymore. The ultimate takeaway is going to be this: the duration of the job isn't what makes it attractive. The quality of the opportunity is. A spectacular one-year mission can be infinitely more valuable to someone's career than a mediocre 5-year slog. As a leader, the hiring managers, our job is to design a frame of these opportunities, to be transparent, fair, and to build partnerships with the talent, even if it's just for 12 months. When you do that, you don't just fill a position, you build your reputation as a destination for top talent. You gain incredible flexibility, and you ultimately build a stronger, more resilient organization. And you gotta understand this real quick, guys. If you are the landing field for the individuals that learn the intro level work so that they can go to the better businesses and get higher raises, you can have an internship level position where you're bringing people on for 12 months, You might be giving them an hourly wage that's $1 less than everybody else in the company because of the contract, but you could also be giving them bigger bonuses. You could be having your interns come in with $1 an hour more than your permanent staff and giving them a 5% increase bonus than your permanent staff, which incentivizes new workers to come in and work harder and better than your permanent staff. And if they don't stay, they move on to a better job. But guess what? If you were offering them on a contract, a 12-month contract, better pay for a better experience than what they would have gotten with a competitor on a permanent gig, they're more likely to stick with you. But you got to make it worth their while. So if you found this breakdown valuable, I want you guys to make sure that you give tonight's show a thumbs up. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and double check the membership on the YouTube. We release new in-depth content every single day to help you guys build better teams and better businesses. And for more hands-on tools, you want to make sure that you double check the strategic contract design checklist that's in our membership already. This will have a crafted 12-month role for you, which allows for you guys to be able to implement the information that we were talking about today. Now, as I told you guys, we got to walk out of here. We got a lot of things that we got to accomplish today. So we're going to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I provide you with this information to make you guys higher value men, not only to improve your financial life, but also to improve your decision-making skills in your personal life. Ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, you can make yourselves higher value women by finding the things in your life that are inside of your control that you don't like and improving those things, then navigating around the things that are outside of your control, then paying attention to your 20 and 30-year plan, reverse engineering that's what you need to do today to accomplish that 20 and 30-year plan, and then steadfast with that while keeping your eyes and ears open on the right suitor that has the right personality, characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, motivation, admiration, and integrity to fulfill his goal. And then you see if his goal matches with your goal. When you find somebody that has similar goals as you, they don't have the exact same goals, but similar goals where you both are working towards long-term satisfaction, not short-term gratification, you can find yourselves in the ability to accomplish each other's goals together. Where I tell you guys on a regular basis that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one, but it requires you both to have similar financial values. Otherwise, it's not going to work. With that being said, I want to give a special shout out to FX Trader, Michael, Steven, Unc, Andy, Aztec, OG, Kicks, Joe Jack. And then I want to thank everybody else for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.